Good morning, everyone. Today on Perspectives, building trust can be a hard thing between young people and law enforcement. So much has happened in recent years, it's feared that many of today's young people have an ingrained suspicion of police. But a program that originated in Mobile and is being used by police departments around the country is trying to change that. It's called Bridging the Gap, developed back in 2015 with local and national law officers. The program is the first ever youth program implemented by 56 FBI field offices around the nation. The program participants are ninth grade students. With seminars and staged encounters with teenagers and officers, the concept is to teach by demonstrating the proper conduct that youth and law enforcement expect from one another during an actual encounter. Now, what you're seeing now are staged scenarios at Theodore High School. While officers learn about the personal challenges that teens face, the program also teaches young people to observe correct behavior. Participants on both sides say the course is both enlightening and a possible game changer between police and our youth. Our guests this morning are Commander Curtis Graves of the Mobile Police Department. Also joining us this morning, Stan Chavis, a representative from State Farm. And we'll also hear from Nyla Evans, who was an 11th grader at Theodore High School and a participant in the program. So stay tuned as we take a look into Bridging the Gap program and its impact on the youth of our community. Perspectives continues after this quick break. Our guests this morning, Mobile Police Commander Curtis Graves and Mr. Stan Chavis, who is the representative for State Farm this morning. We're talking about Bridging the Gap. And gentlemen, thank you both for being here this morning to share this information so critical at a time such as this. One of the things that you have in your information that sort of gives us a beginning point, it says that the program is designed to bring law enforcement officers and youth together to see each other as human beings. Tell us why, Commander Graves, back in 2015, this all came together.
This came together, Eric, because the community had a concern, and they brought it to law enforcement. They brought it to the Mobile Police Department, as well as our FBI office here in Mobile and our U.S. Attorney's Office. There, Chief Barber, then Chief Barber, now Chief of Staff Barber, met with the community along with others to discuss this very important issue about these encounters that oftentimes in our country can go in such the wrong direction, and we wanted to make sure that we were doing something different here in Mobile.
When you look at the year 2015 and what has happened since that time, where it is a critical issue, and it seems that right now, since the pandemic kicked in, we've had just one after the other type of scenario where this type of information that you are providing to the youth of our community may have been something that could have helped in other communities around the country.
We like to think so. You know, I follow a quote of Les Brown. He says, "Go where there is no path and leave a trail." And what we're trying to do is create a new path to understanding and cooperation between law enforcement and the community here. The Bridging the Gap program has been that for us, and we've been going steady and very strong with this program for the last 5 years.
When you talk about that issue of seeing each other as human beings, do you think that we've lost that now?
You know, I hope we're not. I hope from a local standpoint, we're not. You know, it's so important for local law enforcement to have its own narrative that does not fall or get consumed by the national narrative in our country. The Mobile Police Department has been very intentional in trying to make sure that we are doing our very best to educate our community, but to also educate our officers on how to de-escalate situations whenever there's a law enforcement encounter between law enforcement and someone in the community.
We're going to talk more about that throughout the program this morning. Let's bring Stan Chavis in with us, talking about State Farm's participation. And Mr. Chavis, why does State Farm see a role in this to be a part of getting this type of information out?
Well, with State Farm, this program is a perfect fit for State Farm, because State Farm, we have a program which is called Steer Clear. And it's designed for youth operators, where they would take a 5-module course and they can download it on their phone or go online, and do the course. And once they do that, then we ask them to do 5 hours of driving and at least 10 trips. And with that program, with this, it helps the children to be able to understand when they go out driving, especially the youthful operators, that they plan their trips. And along with this program, now they also are learning how to interact with law enforcement.
You know, we all have to look in the mirror as we look at issues, and of course, one of the critical areas is what has happened with black males. Did you personally see a reason why you definitely need to be a part of this program?
Yes, because of that fact and some of the things that I've done in the past, well, also right now, I'm involved with the Boy Scout troop, and that's part of what we do in our troop meetings, is that we teach the boys how to interact with law enforcement if they're pulled over, to the point whereas you just follow instructions. If there's a ticket to be given, you accept the ticket, and if you disagree, then you have the court system to go. That way, we try to teach them not to escalate the situation, but if there's a ticket to be given, you receive the ticket. If you were at fault, you pay the fine. If you feel that you weren't, then there's other avenues versus trying to escalate the situation.
Very strong points there. As we talk about the program itself, I noticed one of the things that is a headline is mutual respect guidelines for police officers, as well as the mutual respect guidelines for citizens. So, Commander, how does that play into this?
Well, it plays into it through scenarios. We create mock scenarios that give us in law enforcement, as well as the young people that we bring out for the program, to actually see and hear one another's perspective as to any type of incident that we create in those scenarios. So we do a traffic stop, for example. That traffic stop, we do 2 processes with that, 2 scenarios. We do the wrong way and the right way. And the wrong way, we instruct our participants to do those things that you may not do, but other people do during traffic stops. It may be where they turn up their music just to aggravate law enforcement. It may be where they're out talking law enforcement during the traffic stop. To do those things, though, so that others will see that this is not the proper way to do it. This is, but in fact, it's a learning process to show the others that this is not how you want to interact with law enforcement if you're stopped. So what we do, we allow our young people to critique one another as well as law enforcement, but it's more important for the young people who are there to help critique what went right versus what went wrong. And after we've actually done that scenario, we will actually do the correct way, and that leaves the young people with the understanding that there is a proper way to do this, so that you have less of a chance of having a bad encounter with law enforcement.
Is this a program for all young people that they need to go through this to get an idea of whether helping themselves or possibly their best friends or those who they are hanging out with, so to speak?
Eric, it is. Basically, though, however, we try to bring this program to our 8th grade population, our 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade populations. Mr. Threadgill asked us to bring it to the middle school population last year because he felt there was a need to actually engage the 8th grade population. We primarily focus on the 9th grade population, and there's a reason why. What we found was that throughout the school year, and I'm talking about a number of school years, the highest concentrated number of students that are suspended are oftentimes the 9th grade population, and those are suspensions and arrests. Well, those are the people that we most likely find ourselves encountering on the street if they're out. So having that population understand what they should do and what they shouldn't do when they're encountered by law enforcement is extremely important. But we also try to make sure that we're actually educating our upper level students too, the ones that are in the 10th and 11th and 12th grade.
When we come back, we're going to be talking to one of the students who has been through this program. If we can, Mr. Chavis, take about 30 seconds and give us an idea of what State Farm hopes to see happen with this program.
Well, State Farm, what we hope to see is that we will have less encounters with young people as far as law enforcement, that they will understand, their part, with it. And I don't know if I said earlier about the Steer Clear program.
Yes.
What it does do, it does offer a discount for the young people from age 16 all the way up to age 20, 25. And like I said before, this program adds to what we're trying to teach the young people with that program.
Well, Mr. Chavis, we thank you and State Farm for being a part of this effort, because it's one that's well needed. And we're going to talk more as we meet a student coming up after the break this morning to hear the perspective of the young people that we're hoping to get this message out to. So again, Mr. Chavis, we thank you, and Commander Graves will be back with you in just a moment when Perspectives continues. Welcome back to Perspectives. Our guest this morning, Commander Curtis Graves of the Mobile Police Department, and joining us now, Nyla Evans, a 11th grader at Theodore High School. We're talking about bridging the gap and rebuilding mutual respect. And I think one of the things that I like what you say here, bringing youth and law enforcement together to learn about each other. Nyla, thanks for joining us, and give us an idea. Did you have a different perspective of law enforcement prior to completing the program of bridging the gap?
A different perspective?
Yeah, did you feel differently about them before you went through this program?
The one that I attended at school?
Yes, the Bridging the Gap program, yes.
I could say I did have a different perspective, but at the same time, I didn't, because what we did at the program and, what we acted out, I completely agreed on both behalves, on kids' behalf and the police's behalf also. So I could say I'm in the middle of it. I'm in the middle.
What would you say that if someone asked you, what did you learn from the program that you feel is very valuable, what was it?
From what I learned?
Yes.
Like when they were stating on how there's bad cops and good cops, and that is a very true statement. Every cop is not bad out in the world. Yes, we have some of them that are like that. But at the same time, us kids, our generation also needs to learn that every cop that crosses our way is not coming to hurt you or to harm you in any way. So that's what I learned from it, and I took that with me for me not to, say if I get pulled over or an incident happen, I won't be sitting here fearful, oh, well, he might shoot me, he might attack me in any type of way. I took that with me, all cops are not bad.
Commander Graves, I think this is probably the goal that you're looking for, is to have some guidelines so that students who are Nyla's age, 11th, 12th graders, as you mentioned, also the importance of reaching those 9th graders, understanding that you're serving and respecting the civilian population is something you all do take seriously.
Absolutely. Naya's response was spot on, Eric. Our goal is not to give them what we see. Is for us to give them a different lens to look at law enforcement and their interactions with law enforcement from a different lens, from a different perspective. The goal is never to give them a bill of information or a bill of goods that's trying to convince them that all law enforcement's good. That's never the case. That's never the point we're trying to make. We're always trying to actually get them to see things from a different lens, as we need to also see things from a different lens. And that lens is, for us, looking at how the community sees us and what can we do to improve that appearance, and vice versa for them.
You know, that term, protect and serve, that a lot of people talk about that because for some in certain communities, it's felt that it's not protecting and serving them, but maybe protecting them from other communities. How do we get beyond that?
We get beyond that by actually talking about having a conversation about these things that bother us, but we never step outside of the conversation that we most often have with one another. So you have to find people that you have things not in common with, or you think you don't have things in common with, so that you can find those commonalities that exist, because more often than not, we're more the same than we are different.
And Nyla, I know that you also have an older sister who's in college, and your mother, I'm sure, has talked to you all about being prepared to address situations with law enforcement.
Of course.
Some of those things that your mom told you, did you see them play out in this program to where trying to come to terms with youth and with law enforcement?
Absolutely. She always told me to comply, don't argue, and with anybody, and not even the law enforcement. She told me to stay respectful, because that's how I've been raised. So at all times, if I or my bigger sister gets in, get interact with the law enforcement, we comply at all times. And like one of the polices told me, if a police is any type of way harsh with me, I can, go report them any type of way, but still comply and be respectful as I've been raised. Yes, sir.
Now, when you were in the program, and I'm sure you may have observed some of the responses from some of your classmates, did you see that they were learning and seeing that this is something that's helpful for us, so that we need to give of our attention and really be succinct in being a part of this program? Did you feel that they were sincere in doing that?
Personally, I'm going to be honest with you. Who we were talking to, they are ninth graders. And most ninth graders are not as mature as I may be or anybody else. But yes, most of them will, connect to what you're saying, because they were very interactive with y'all and what y'all were talking about. They were feeling what you were talking about. But as for y'all trying to show them who y'all really are, y'all have to bring out more to them, like show them reasons that, oh well, y'all are trying to protect and serve us. So as y'all giving us respect, we can give it too, because kids these days, their mindset is, if y'all don't show us respect, we're not going to show y'all respect. So they feel as if the law enforcement and they see all this stuff on the news, oh well, they're getting shot, black people getting shot, other people getting shot, in their head, well, they all here to hurt us. So for kids their age, they're going to automatically think, oh, y'all are here to hurt us. Just because we're doing a play and y'all telling us this and y'all telling us that, they want proof. They want to see a change instead of, doing an acting part. They want to actually see it visually.
Right, right. And Commander Graves, as you look at that, I'm sure you've structured your vehicle traffic stop, your street encounter, and the home encounter to be able to address that and for them to see what you're looking at when you arrive to those particular situations. Take about a minute and talk about those three and how you hit those so they can better understand your position.
Well, indeed, Eric, what we do for each of those scenarios, whether it's the traffic stop, the street stop, or the domestic encounter, is to kind of break down those barriers of communication, first of all, to get them at ease in interacting with us to act out these different scenes. And at the same time, once that comparability occurs, to allow them to participate in such a way to where they are actually stakeholders in this whole process, and getting them to actually sit down and help us critique each one of those scenarios in terms of what happens right, what happened wrong, and coming to a common conclusion that we can do these things a whole lot better on both sides.
Well, I tell you, there's never enough time to share all this incredible information. Take about 30 seconds and tell me, Commander Graves, you're also wanting to take this to our churches and community centers.
Absolutely. COVID brought about a lot of different changes for us with this program, but one of the things that we figured out that we needed to do was we needed to broaden our scope of how we disseminate this information. This program is a national program. We created this program here in Mobile. All 56 field offices of the FBI now direct this program to local law enforcement within their jurisdiction. Our goal right now, more than anything, is to make sure that everyone in our community, as much as possible, have access to this information so that we and they have a better encounter with one another whenever or should ever this happen.
Well, we thank you so much for doing this through the Mobile Police Department in conjunction with the FBI and, of course, the U.S. Attorney's Office. A very worthwhile and needed program, and I thank you as well as Nyla Evans. We thank you for joining us today, a 11th grader at Theodore High School, and sharing a youth perspective. And, of course, our earlier guest, Mr. Stan Chavis with State Farm, a community participant who the company sees the value of working with this program to make a difference in our community. Again, we thank you all, and thank you for being a part of Perspectives this morning.
Thank you.
And for more information on bridging the gap, please call the Mobile Police Department's Office of Strategic Initiatives at the phone number you see there on the screen. That's 251-208-6384. Also, if you want to learn more about the State Farm Steer Clear Safe Driver Program and the discount as well, you can contact Stan Chavis's office. That number is 251-473-7150, or go to statefarm.com for more information. Well, next up on Perspectives, most of our nation's state-funded schools want our children to be reading at or above grade level when they finish the 3rd grade. But it's still a goal that many schools are struggling right now to meet. Experts believe that some parents start too late to introduce their children to reading. There's now a program that engages our children, though, starting as newborns with age-appropriate books to successfully support early childhood literacy. It's called Reach Out and Read Alabama. So please join us here next Saturday morning at 9 a.m. for Perspectives as we discuss that and important issues, as well as seeking solutions. If you have any ideas of topics that you'd like for us to address, just drop it to us at perspectives@fox10tv.com. I'm Eric Reynolds. Have a great week ahead.
Thanks for watching Fox 10 News. Watch us live wherever you are, on our mobile, our streaming news app, and you can also watch us on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV.